スポーツイラストレーテッドのトム・ベルドゥッチ記者が米メディアザ・ベースボール・インサイダーに出演し、ドジャースの強さの正体を多角的に語りました。番組ではドジャースは資金力だけのチームではなく、組織力、育成、安定性、細部へのこだわりが現在の成功を支えていると指摘しています。そして大谷選手の契約が組織を一段引き上げたことについても言及。さらにドジャースの今後についても独自の見解を示し、当面は最強クラスを維持する可能性が高いとコメントしました。その模様を日本語字幕付きでご紹介しますので、ぜひ最後までご覧ください。
So Tom, like you and I were talking about the process of you doing the Dodgers cover story, but I was wondering if you could take us also behind the scenes and what reporting that kind of story looks like and what exactly you learned about the Dodgers when you were there with them.
Yeah, great question. Well, actually, the hardest part was arranging the cover shot of Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge together. It was like my version of Ocean's 11. It took so much planning to get this done, to get two guys in the same room to take a picture that probably took only about 10 or 15 minutes. But super happy was able to get that done. And kudos to both those guys for making it happen. I know how busy they are, but yeah, I've always wanted to dive into the Dodgers. Like, you know, we know they're the best team in baseball, two-time defending world champions, but what's kind of like the secret sauce besides spending money? What do they do really well? And, you know, I really, Andrew Friedman gave you a lot of time. He was probably key to the whole story, but obviously talking to a lot of the coaches, players, front office people, just getting a vibe of what they do behind the scenes, like kind of what you don't see. And I don't know if there was anything that was really staggeringly eye-opening, but attention to detail really stood out. And I do think, too, that, man, the Ohtani contract, I'm after doing this story, I knew at the time it was just unbelievably a stroke of luck, if you will, for the Dodgers to get the greatest player in the world on $2 million a year and fund the rest of it later. But it really did set this organization, it propelled them forward. I mean, I was told the Dodgers are making at least $200 million a year off Ohtani, off of one player. I mean, that's just crazy. And it allows them, obviously, with payroll room to sign people like Snell and Yamamoto and everybody else they brought in, now Kyle Tucker. So, yeah, I got to say, though, guys, like kind of the soft spot to it, to me, reminds me of the Yankees in the late 90s, too, that, yeah, the numbers and the analytics and all that stuff is great, but you know, back then the Yankees had Jeter and Posada and Bernie and Rivera and Pettit. These guys were never satisfied, like even winning one. And I think the Dodgers, you know, how they got here, it's amazing to me. Like Mookie Betts should never have played for any other team but the Red Sox. Freddie Freeman should have never played for any other team but the Atlanta Braves. Those are franchise players. The Dodgers got both of them. And now Ohtani as well. I don't know how you even let him go at all, but they have these guys that are kind of reminding me of the Yankees of the late 90s. Like they're the engine of the team. Besides being the best players, they're never satisfied. So unless you're around the Dodgers, I don't really think you pick that up. The fact that, you know, they never put it in cruise control. And a lot of that is Mookie. But I got to say, Freddie's cut the same way, and now Shohei.
Now, when you're around the team and you're humanizing, you know, you've got this machine, you're behind the scenes checking on the motivations that really make them tick, rather than just sort of this monolithic payroll and all the myth that comes with it. I mean, it sounds like you left impressed by the drive of the individual players and sort of thinking to yourself, like the late 90s Yankees, this is a team that is not going to let itself slip or let itself, you know, become anything less than infallible. So after you sort of humanize them and get behind the scenes and you know, break it down person to person, do you feel like they're more unbeatable than when you started, or can you see the holes a little bit?
I do think they're more unbeatable than they were before. I mean, the two weaknesses last year on the World Championship team were one outfield spot and the back end of the bullpen against Kyle Tucker and Edwin Diaz. But it's interesting to me, you think about how close they came to getting knocked off the last couple of years, right? San Diego had them on the ropes in the DS 2 years ago. And last year, of course, you know, Blue Jays just 2 outs away from winning the whole thing. So there is some luck involved, no question about it. But what really stood out to me, guys, is Miguel Rojas. When I talked to him about the difference in this team, say from when Arizona was knocking them out in the first round, and San Diego did that once as well. You know, they were running up 111 wins and going home one and done. And now here they are winning these close games, which they seem to do all the time in the postseason. And they're actually kind of a gritty team. Last year coming from behind to win the World Series. And he said what happened was he thought, not that they took it for granted, but they didn't have the same focus and edge during the regular season in those years, figuring we'll find that in the postseason. And now he said last couple of years, and I think this is true now, you watch the Dodgers play, a midweek series in Washington, and they're playing with the edge of a postseason team. They know they're going to get the best of the other team. There's no question about it. Usually the stands will be a little more full on the road. So they're playing playoff quality games now throughout the regular season. It's interesting to me that he admitted that a few years ago, maybe it wasn't as tightly played as they are now.
Now, the Mets also do have this same payroll advantage the Dodgers do. They don't have the Shohei Ohtani contract, of course, but why do you believe that the Mets don't get the same grief the Dodgers do for quote unquote ruining baseball? Is it just the victories? Is it just the Ohtani? I mean, what is the line in the sand?
Yeah, I think it's the victories, man. I do. It's a great point, though. It seems to get lost. Like the Dodgers take all this grief for their payroll, and the Mets are right there with them, if not more. And people are fine with that because, I mean, it's been a long time. Since '86, since they won the World Series. They're not threatening anybody. Yeah, it's an interesting point, though, because the Dodgers are interesting because, yes, they spend a lot of money, but, even with the Tucker and Diaz contracts, they're not really expanding the payroll this year. They make so much money. I think if you're a fan, you're happy they're plowing it back into the team. But yeah, if you can figure out what's wrong with the Mets and why they don't win with this payroll, I mean, that's the Rubik's Cube to solve. And it looks like they're starting off badly this year. And I said, to me, there was no team that needed to get a better start this year. And everybody wants a good start, right? Than the New York Mets, based on how last year finished, based on a lot of changes in the lineup, a lot of changes in the coaching staff. To me, they don't know who they are. And that's a bad position to be in. And you want to define who you are really early on the positive side.
Yeah, and both of those teams they went after Kyle Tucker in the offseason, and obviously the Dodgers ended up getting Tucker. I remember I tweeted the terms, and the first thing that was responded to me instantly was salary cap. We need a salary cap. We cannot let this end up happening. Do you think that contract for Tucker, $60 million a year, was what put that conversation over the top about people just wanting a salary cap? And do you think it actually does happen?
Well, it definitely accelerated the conversation because Kyle Tucker's a nice player, but he's more of a complimentary player to me than a franchise type player. Great player, don't get me wrong, but I think for the average fan, that name didn't resonate with those kind of dollars. And you fold in the tax the Dodgers are paying, that they're paying them $120 million just in 2026. That's more than 5 or 6 teams. So I think when you see the disparity in that regard, that one guy's making more than 5 different teams in 2026, you're something has to change. Now, I don't know about a salary cap. I think it's going to be very difficult to get. I've said this for years, not just now, that if baseball does want to seriously change the economic structure of the game, not just tinker with it, you're going to have trauma. You're going to miss games. I don't see any way that's possible to change the system to something the Players Association historically has been dead set against. If you ever do get there, and I have my doubts whether they could, but if you do get there, it's probably going to cost some games. How many, I don't know. But I'm optimistic. I tend to think that somehow we're going to get an agreement. It's probably around March of next year without going through what would be unbelievable trauma, really, when you think about shutting the game down, because the sports landscape is so different from 94 and 95. There's just too many choices out there now for people to go somewhere else and not come back.
Yeah, and obviously, a big part of that conversation, as we talked about, is the Dodgers, and it seems like they're built to last as of this point. But can you see a spot where their dominance ends up kind of slowing down a little bit? I don't want to say coming to an end, but I think slowing down. Or do you just think they're kind of invincible at this point?
It's hard for me to see that they'll have a down period.
Yeah.
But I do think they could get in a situation where the age starts to show on this team a little bit. They were the oldest team in baseball last year and won the World Series. So Age by itself is not a terrible thing, but if you're talking about Freeman and Betts, especially, what's behind them. Their farm system has been so good, though, and I think that's part of their success too, that they're able to sustain the talent level. And sometimes it means using those trading chips to go get somebody else. So it's hard for me based on the structure they have in place, the consistency they have. I mean, that's the biggest difference between the Dodgers and Mets. It's just stability, right? The Dodgers just hire good people, trust them, keep them there for a long time. And the Mets are always searching for the formula that works. So I think it's hard for me to see they'll have any kind of a down period. But, I used to say that about the Yankees. And then there was a couple of years there where they didn't make the playoffs. And not making the playoffs when, 6 teams are going in each league, you don't think that's possible for a team like the Yankees or the Dodgers. So I don't see it happening anytime soon, I'll tell you that. But it's hard to sustain, well, let's see if they can get the 3rd in a row, but it's pretty amazing just to have these 2 in a row.
Yeah, and also, too, there's a follow-up that I wanted to ask you. Is initially you said you spent a lot of time with Andrew Friedman, and he is, at this point, he's destined for the Hall of Fame. Like, what do you think it is that just makes him such an elite executive? And, what do you think makes him separate from the others in baseball?
It's a great question because I think he has such a diverse skill set where obviously coming from Tampa Bay, he was schooled early in analytics, but he actually sees the game a lot like a scout. He really does. And he does a great job to me. He's a great connector of people. And a lot of teams run into trouble when there's separate silos between, say, player development and analytics. That's not the case with the Dodgers at all. And to me, we talk about glue guys on a team in a dugout. He's like a glue guy in the organization who makes everybody feel important. He asks questions. It reminds me of Pat Gillick a lot. Pat Gillick was a great architect, if you will, not just a baseball guy. And he would not be afraid to ask anybody a question. Like in the media, he would ask you, pick your brain about what team you were covering. And I think Andrew's that kind of curious guy. It doesn't mean he's going to always take it to heart, whatever you tell him. But I think he knows what he doesn't know, always curious to learn more. So, yeah, I think he's, if not the best, he's one of the best out there because I think he connects every aspect of the organization.
最後までご覧いただきありがとうございました。今回の動画についてどういう感想を持たれましたか？ぜひコメント欄で意見や感想をお聞かせください。チャンネル登録やグッドボタンを押していただけると励みになります。それでは次回の動画でお会いしましょう。